Hey everybody, this is Bob Sorrentino from Italian Roots and Genealogy, and I'm here today with another podcaster, Frank Di Piero, from Keeping It Real with Frankie D. And not only is he a great podcaster, but he's a great friend. So welcome, Frank. Thanks for being here.
Bob, thank you. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And I got to say, I never would have thought when I was a young child that I would become a podcaster.
Well, there was no such thing as
right?
I've become a podcaster, an author, and several other things. And
Yes.
some things people can't, we can't say on TV.
For sure. We don't want to do that.
But we've spoken several times before, and we've interviewed each other. But I wanted to take today to tell everybody that I think Frank's done a wonderful thing for the Italian community in general, but especially for young people. And if you have young children or grandchildren, you certainly want to check out his two new books. And I was quite surprised. You surprised all of us with these books. And you've written two children's books, correct?
Yes, I have, which I guess same kind of thing. I never would have dreamed that I would write any books, let alone children's books. I, was never a writer per se. Kind of got inspired. So, besides the podcast and all that kind of stuff, at the Italian Cultural Center we have in Chicago, which is at Casa Italia, I'm a volunteer. And in the Italian Cultural Center, we have our library. And our library and our Italian Cultural Center, under the direction of Dominic Candeloro, really looks to help people write their stories. Dominic preaches always, save your stories, write your stories, and they will help. They'll help you get started. They'll help you publish. They'll really, really help from the bottom of their heart. And, I saw these people writing books about their families and whatnot. We also have a yearly event called ItalianAmerican Literati, IA Literati. And they invite authors there again, and they talk. And I don't know. I just kind of got this writing bug from all this atmosphere, being around it. I love going to volunteer because it's a 4-story, 100-year-old building, and we have museums in there, and it's a great vibe. I love the Italian vibe. I can't get enough of it. And I don't know how it came to me about children's books. Well, I have 2 kids. They're now 23, 22, and I kind of was thinking about when they were young and different things, so I sit down and I start writing this book, and the first book is called My Big Family, and it's based a little bit off of stuff that happened with them. And basically the whole concept of the book is kind of like this comforting make-believe atmosphere that this little boy creates, where he has stuffed animals, and it's almost like they're real, and they protect him, and they protect the house. And I even take it to a further step. There's a bunch of different characters, like a clock on the wall and all this, and they protect the house when no one's home and things like that. So writing the first book, then I immediately had the bug, and I'm like, okay, I got the second one. So I continue with the characters, but on a different level. Now, the first book has a couple characters with Italian names. I even have a clock that sits on a wall that's called Italiano, and it has the Italian flag and the clock. So the second book, I keep the characters, but now it's a family: mom, dad, daughter, son. So now the daughter, they're going to go to Italy, and she wants to take her favorite stuffed animal, which is a teddy bear. Now, this is a true story. When my daughter was born, somebody gave her a teddy bear, like a lot of kids. And then when my son was born, 12 months later, somebody gave him a teddy bear. So now, to distinguish the two, my daughter's teddy bear was white in color, and we literally called him Teddy Bianco. And then my son's teddy bear was browner, and we just called him Teddy. So Teddy Bianco was my daughter. So these are characters in the book. So now my daughter is going to go to, I mean, the girl in the book is going to go to Italy with her brother and her mother. And she asked mom, can I take Teddy Bianco? And mom says, okay. So now the book is called Teddy Bianco Goes to Italy. And your background, thank you, is the cover of the book. And my wife came up with that. And we have the America with the flag, and we have Italy with the flag, and we have the airplane based loosely on the Snoopy cartoon, and they're going to Italy. So now I'm thinking, you know what? I want to, this book could be a tool as a, just, I mean, this is for little kids. It's typically a book that the parents would be reading to them. And this could be like a little helpful thing about just a beginning stage of a little Italian culture and some words. So the second book, I thought it was a good story. And they go to Italy and they arrive in Florence. And I talk a little bit about different aspects of Florence, in a very childlike way. I try to translate some words, some traditional food that is there. Go to Rome, the same thing. And then the last part of their trip is they go to Calabria, which is where the mom was born. And they still have a house and they're going to go see family members. So it's just like a little introduction to Italy and a little introduction to some words. And I was really kind of happy about that. And I thought, wow, this is something, and I'm working on a third book. I got a couple ideas for a third and a fourth that definitely Italian based and there's a little bit of prayer in the book, and there's a little bit of, we went to the Vatican and the religion and all that. So, I'm glad with it, and I'm happy for it. And I hope it's a useful thing for people out there.
Well, yeah, definitely. And, we've talked several times about the youth not knowing about Italy. And they don't even teach, I don't even think they teach Italian history in school. We used to get a little bit of it, not a lot, but we had some. But I think like you said, it's a good start for young kids to understand where they came from. And I've never heard of anything like this before. So
Yeah, I kind of thought like maybe there's a little niche here. And I mean, don't get me wrong. We're going to have this next IA Literati, and they're like, oh, we want you to present your book. I go, it's not a book. It's like a pamphlet. I mean, I'm almost embarrassed to be with authors. I'm not an author. I'm winging it like I do everything else. I'm not a podcaster. I wing it. I'm not a historian. I wing it. But, it's not a novel. It's 24 pages. It's got some nice pictures because that's what you expect in a children's book. Mm. But yeah, I kind of felt like there was a niche, like, getting to the Italian American kid. The parents want to introduce a little bit, of culture, and like I said, and it's not as accessible. You're right; they don't teach any history of Italy in schools, and if our kids don't keep signing up for Italian language classes, they're going to stop teaching that in the schools because the numbers are a little bit down. So we always talk about it. You got to keep doing and doing and doing. And one thing I learned at our IA Literati, which will be in May of this year, 2023. The biggest thing in we have to promote our fellow Italian American authors. I know you do. I very much enjoy interviewing them on my podcast because, I mean, they need to have that time to promote themselves and buy their books. We need to buy our books. We need to buy Italian American authors' books. You know what I mean? We have to support them and so that they can tell our stories, because if we don't do it, if we don't tell the stories, nobody's gonna.
No, you're right. And there are, so many great books out there, whether it's, historical figures going back in time, or some of the World War II stories are fascinating. I mean, there's such a rich history in the regions and everything. And it's true. And that's why, that's why I started the group, the Italian American author group, on Facebook, just to try and get as much out there as we can, to help support people, and not just to support them, but to learn our history, to understand.
Right, definitely. I just interviewed a gentleman, Lou Rosati, and it's a book called The Boy in Abruzzo. It's fiction based loosely and where his family is from, and it was about World War II in Abruzzo. And I remember when in the interview, and I said to him, like, you read stuff like this, and we're very lucky people that we didn't live through those kind of times. And what a nice gentleman, a retired doctor, pathologist, and just a great guy. I really enjoyed it. And I always say I'm blessed and fortunate to get to meet these people and get to talk to these people. Being a podcaster like yourself, I feel we're the lucky ones.
Absolutely. And it's funny. People ask me, how do you find these people? I said, they're out there. Google. I look for books. I look for interesting people. It's not that hard. Uh, and I think the both of us are trying to do the same thing. We're trying to give a window to the Italian Americans, so that they can be known, and again, back to the history that we know our history. Uh, and just to digress a little bit, you also do another fascinating little bit, where you do that Italian American moment, I think you call it, uh, and you tell people not about the Joe DiMaggios and the Sylvester Stallones and those people, but the people that really contributed a lot to our history in America that nobody ever heard of.
Well, just recently, so for everyone, I do these videos, very short videos. I try not to go over a minute. Um, Writing those is a different technique because now you're trying to take this ton of information and condense it to 1 minute. It's just like giving people that little quick overview of this invention, accomplishment, story, in hopes that, hey, if they really enjoy this person or this subject, they'll research it a little more. So just recently, I was blown away. These two twin sisters that recently came to our Italian Cultural Center and started volunteering, they said, wow, I told them about these Italian American moments, and they go, you should do one on Simon Rodia. I'm like, okay, who's Simon Rodia? So I look it up. Bob, I was blown away. I was blown away. Never heard of this gentleman. The Watts Towers in California. I don't know if you're familiar with the story. I kind of think you are from your expression.
Yeah.
I was blown away. What an incredible accomplishment. And I was giddy getting the info, writing this moment, and then having patience waiting for my son to help me make the video, which unfortunately, that's he's a great son, and God bless him for helping me, but he does have a life as well. So I was waiting, and we finally did it. And I was like ecstatic to do it. And I mean, real quick story, Italian immigrant, not even 5 feet tall, decides to start building on his property in Watts, which I'm not real familiar with California, but I think it's not like the greatest of areas. And he starts building these towers out of materials he finds, out of garbage. And he was a tile setter, so I mean, he you knew what he was doing, obviously. And he would bend pipe on the railroad track. He had no ladder. He had no scaffolding. He had no power equipment. Okay. He had a bucket, a hammer, a shovel, a chisel, and his hands. And this little man would build a section and then climb up it and build another section and then climb up it and build another section. And the tallest one's 100 feet high. Did this by himself over 30 years every day. And he left it. He just donated it. He wanted to do something big. And he looked up to fellow Italians like Michelangelo and Galileo. And he wanted to do something big. And boy, he did it. And after he was gone, the city, they either wanted to move it or they wanted to destroy it. I'm not really sure. But they said, oh, it's not safe. So, we can't keep this here. And they brought a crane and they tested it. And son of a gun, the thing was built like Fort Knox from this little man. And I mean, my God, it's a movie waiting to happen. It's a lot of things. He was he did have a little bit of publicity. He was on the cover of the Beatles album, the album cover, which, today's youth wouldn't even know what I was talking about. But back in the day when they had records, the album cover was a big deal. The Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album cover. There's all these like famous people, and there's a picture of him. And
Really?
yes. So, I mean,
Now I have to
he
go look at
was
the album.
famous, but not. You know what I mean? He was
Yeah,
part of that
yeah.
like pop culture thing.
Mhm,
So, I mean,
mhm.
just stuff like that. I've done, I think 103 of these Italian American moments, and I'm very proud of those. And if my goal is they're a tool to learn for our people. That's it. A tool to learn, to inspire, to give a little spark for I want to know more. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, yeah, and we don't get enough credit for these unsung heroes like that. You know,
Oh, it's
the people that built America and
yes.
things. You know,
Yes. No, no, there's so and like you said, there's so many stories out there. And you know, me, you we're reading about it, we're looking at things, we're researching things, and then all of a sudden you get this name and you look it up and go, I never heard of this guy. And I'm blown away. I really was. It just
yeah,
shows you how much more is out there. And for people I think like you and me, it's a thrill to find out about it. We're just so happy to let everybody else know about it. I have such pride letting them know to say, hey, this is a good one. You want to see this one.
yeah, yeah. I think one of the stories that shocked me more than anything else was the fact that there were 7 Italians in Custer's Seventh Cavalry. Now, we've all watched, Custer's Last Stand and all of that. Never a mention of any Italians being there.
I didn't know
Uh,
that.
yeah, yeah, and the sole survivor was John Martin. I mean, his name in America, he went by John Martin, at least when he was in the cavalry. Giovanni Martini.
Hmm.
He was the sole survivor. He was the bugler, and they sent him to go either warn some other colonel or general, or to go tell them that they needed help, whatever the case may be. Um, but he was the sole survivor, Italian, and so we're talking, when was that, 1870 or 1871 or something like that. So we don't associate
Right.
Italians being here even at that point in time.
And
Nevertheless,
going
being in
off
the cavalry.
that, there's a whole story that I've never really, really researched, but the Marines band, they used to recruit from Italy musicians, and they were a major part of the Marines band in like those years. They actually brought from Italy, from Sicily, a couple of guys, and that's how much Italians have influenced music that I don't think our youth would of today would realize the influence of Italians. Guido d'Arezzo was the first to write the musical scale, and it just goes on and on and on. I also now with this the writing bug, we they had produced a Italian Women in Chicago book. I don't know, about 5 years ago, 35, 40 stories of, different stories. They were like separate little stories about women, some women and their impact in Chicago, Italian women. Well, now, our guy Dominic Candeloro, they want to do a volume 2, and I want to be in it, and I want to tell this one woman's story. So I'm doing real research that I've never done before. Like the kind where you go to the library and you look things. I've never done that. I'm not really familiar with that kind of stuff. I know who I'm talking to here, the descendant of the Pope in 1200. So I know you know all about that. I don't. So I'm going to write about this woman, Helen Chedese, who was the first woman in Illinois to receive a law license and was an incredible woman. And I'm just so happy. I want to write her story for her because she deserves to be in it. And I want to be in the book. I want to be in this book because it means something to me. So yeah, this writing thing is going now.
Yeah, yeah. I never realized how hard it is, though. It's difficult. It's really difficult.
It's extremely difficult. Yes, and like I said, writing a novel like you did, I mean, wow. My hats off to you.
Well, I'm working on one with a friend. We want to do about the nobles in Calabria, uh, and then I'm doing another one that's not Italian. It's about my career in banking, which is that's easy because it's just all from memory, you know. So you just have to write down what you remember and things like that. But yeah, I never realized that, and I my hat really goes off to some of the authors that I interviewed who do these historical fiction type of books because you have to you know, it's one thing to research the history and put them in a book, but then to take those people and build this whole story that fits into that time, that boggles my mind. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it.
No, you're absolutely right. We are fortunate to be in these modern times because podcasting and writing these books and all that probably wouldn't have existed for us. You know what I mean?
No, no, no,
It's a
certainly.
different world, and we got to make the best of it and use it to spread the word. That's what I think it is. I think with people like you and me, it's just spreading our stories and our culture and everything in between to ignite, younger people than us, because we're not going to be here forever. And the tide is kind of turning. Italian America is not what it was in 1960 today. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And we're 2023, and what's 2060 going to be like? So this is a very crucial, important time. I feel like for our ethnic group and our Italian American community throughout the United States to really make some concrete plans and start and definitely do continue to do things and do more to keep this flame alive.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And certainly I think, you know, you're on the right track there getting the little kids involved. So before we go, where can the parents and the grandparents especially spoil the young kids and buy the two books? And what are the name of the books again? Where can I get them?
Well, okay, so the books are called, the first one, My Big Family. The second one, Teddy Bianco Goes to Italy. They are on Amazon under my name, Frank, last name D-I space capital Piero. Also, you could go directly to my website, ItalianAmericanLife.com. ItalianAmericanLife.com. As soon as you get on it, that page, it's got the book, the picture of the book. You click on that, it'll take you right to Amazon. And real quick story. One of my wife has a hair salon, and one of her customers bought the books, and she told her something, and I really was like, wow, that's cool. She goes, you know what? Instead of buying gifts and things that they're not going to use for like a baby shower, she goes, these are great gifts for a baby shower. I mean, they're only
Absolutely, yeah.
$9.95, and that's a great gift for someone having a baby. So I thought, wow, that's actually that makes a lot of sense. So that's a cool way of looking at it. So
Yeah, no,
yes,
absolutely, absolutely. That is a cool way of looking at it. And then it's you know, you could see the cover is catches your eye right away. I love the cover.
thank you very much.
Well, listen, Frank, as usual, it's been a pleasure, and
The pleasure
we'll be
is all
talking
mine.
again.
Thank you. Keep doing your great work. You're awesome out there, and I appreciate your time and this podcast as well.
Anytime, my friend, anytime.
Hi, everyone. This is Bob Sorrentino, just letting you know that my new book, Farmers and Nobles, is now available for sale on www.italiangenealogy.blog/Farmers and Nobles, or you can find the link in the podcast notes. Thanks for listening.